increasing concerns surrounding the coronavirus pandemic, this meeting will remain closed to the public. There are no scheduled public hearings and will be no public comment period. Live video and audio of the meeting will be aired on Comcast Local Channel 9. A recording of the meeting will also be posted on the West Bridgewater YouTube channel. So thanks for coming. It's good to see everybody in person. I wanted to make sure we introduce the new members. I'm sorry that Cynthia couldn't be here, but we have Jeff Ryan as a new member. Welcome.
Thank you.
Do you folks know everybody? You want to go around the room, or?
Yeah, go ahead. Let's go around the room for the fun of it.
Do you want to start?
Sure. Scott Weatherby. I think I know both of you. Hello.
I'm Cheryl Adams.
Hi, Cheryl.
And Mo McCarthy.
And I'm Jan Fox.
Okay. Who's this guy?
Dave Gagnon, Town Administrator, not on the committee, but assist with the committee in liaison from the Board of Selectmen's office.
So the first thing we're going to do on the agenda after the welcomes is to vote to reorganize. We typically have a chair, a vice chair, and a clerk. I'd like to stay on as the chair if everybody is okay with that. We can, if anybody wants to comment about that or has any other ideas.
Is that
If, she's let everybody know she'd like to stay on as chair. If there's no objections, somebody would make a motion, second, and vote. If there's somebody else that wants to be chair, then we would create a nomination process and we go to multiple votes.
so? I'll make a motion that Jan be the chair of the FinCon.
Thank you. Any seconds?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Would anyone like to make a motion on a vice chair or a nomination on a vice chair? Is anybody interested in doing that? I think Mo is currently serving. I don't know if you want to stay.
You want to stay? Make a motion to have Mo serve as vice chair.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. And a clerk. So I know, Cheryl, you've done this in the past. I don't know if you're interested in continuing to do that.
Thank you.
The clerk would be, just before you say yes,
Hopefully we
would,
can get someone.
until we get a secretary, we'll need to have the clerk take the minutes and potentially post agendas and things like that. So if you're up for that.
If we see someone or talk to someone, are we open to it will be what we would pay, or should we?
Sure.
I mean, you had a good idea. I mean, $20,
Yeah, it's pretty decent.
maybe even more. I don't know.
Yeah, so are you okay if I explain what I said to you guys earlier?
Of course.
So you used to have a secretary. The secretary's hourly rate was around $15 an hour because we just did kind of like the going rate for what you would assume a secretary to be. The reality is that there's not a lot of hours. So this usually, your meetings are normally around 2 hours. So think about it. Somebody comes in, they make $30, they spend another hour working on the minutes, they send them to me, I vet them, and they come back to your committee. But it's like $45 every other week, and after taxes, it's just not worth somebody's time. So the last time we had a secretary, we did it through the Board of Selectmen's office. We paid her hourly rate, which at that time was around $23, $24 an hour. But even her, she said, geez, Dave, part of the reason she stepped down is she's already working at one night a week. We're pretty busy. She was burning out, but she also said, I make $38 a week at the end, so.
Yeah.
So for anybody listening saying, geez, $20 an hour is a lot for secretary, I understand that, but at the end, somebody has to be willing to show up every other week, 2 hours, and literally probably at the end of the month, make $100. So it's not a lot, and you are sacrificing a night. But it's not overly difficult. You take the minutes, and,
Right.
and I help out. They send them to me, and I vet them. Because a lot of times, especially if they're not doing this a lot, they don't catch everybody's names and the budget numbers and all that. So I help with that.
Yeah.
So I was recommending 20, but it's really up to the committee. You are budgeted for it, so you have the money.
Yeah. I mean, it also, the minimum wage has gone up to $15 an hour, so 20 isn't unreasonable to me. how other people feel.
I'm sorry.
Could we do 25 or 30?
I mean, that's getting a little steep, 30, but, you know, I
Again,
think
it's
we-
2 hours, they have
Yeah.
to come over here.
I know, I think we'd probably be able to do 20 to 25 and try that. If we don't get any responses, maybe we can think about it. But
Okay.
do we want to finish the clerk? Cheryl, are you interested in
I'll do
doing
it,
that?
yes.
Okay, does anybody else want to do that, or? Okay. Just do, somebody want to make a motion to appoint Cheryl as the clerk?
I'll make that motion.
I'll
Appoint
second.
Cheryl.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great. Okay, so do you mind taking the meeting minutes tonight?
I'm working on it.
Thank you.
And then, Jim, you had a question?
Yeah, can I get back to a comment that David made?
Of course.
I didn't quite hear what you said, David, I'm sorry. Do we have a budget of X amount of dollars per month, or only for the whole term that, and I use that word term only as, you know, from now until, let's just call it June, when that person will be on board?
Yes,
How
so,
how do you propose that that gets handled?
yep, so you guys have a budget of $3,100. It's for the full fiscal year.
Yep.
And so you traditionally don't spend any money from July until February.
Correct.
And then this is when you spend your money. So, so you have about basically $3,000 to spend.
And we don't usually
So-
spend it all, do we?
Do we have
We're all
meetings?
doing that.
I'm asking this up front, because I know some of the meetings go more than 2 hours.
Yes,
So there will be meetings that could go, let's just talk off the wall, 4 hours,
they could.
okay? And again, going back to David, if you don't mind, they don't necessarily have to turn in a payslip every month. They can let it roll over, or would you prefer that?
No, we prefer it. They turn in every month.
So I now would like to go back to Mo's comment and say, well, why don't we, because times are difficult, and I know that the other committee that I'm on, and I'm not gonna say what it is, we haven't been able to find a secretary for a long time,
Oh, really?
and, because we lost ours.
Mhm.
And I think that we should make it a little more interesting and go to Mo's comment with $25 an hour, so that at least if it's, you know, if it's 8 to 10 hours a month, let's just say, at least it's worthwhile for that
Yeah.
person to come out.
Yeah.
And I'm only using that as a comment and hoping that all of you kind of understand where I'm coming from.
No, that makes sense. We've got to pay whatever we, you know.
I mean,
We have the budget, so, yeah.
yeah, but I don't want to piss the budget away either, if you'll pardon my French.
Right. So does anybody here know anybody who might be interested in doing it? I think I had put that in the email, I know,
I mean,
you know.
it's, you gotta know
Well,
what
we
you're
haven't
doing.
had a secretary for a year,
I know,
right?
I know.
I mean, a lot of my daughter, a lot of her friends are all in college. I was gonna ask her if she knew anybody, but I don't know anyone offhand.
Yeah, I
But
mean,
I know a lot
that
of
would
kids
probably be
in Richmond
perfect.
State that might, you know.
Yeah, it'd probably be perfect for a college student.
I don't know if they know what they're doing, and to your point, taking down names and budgets and.
Yeah, so we do a,
Quick,
Anybody's gonna do a better job than
They
me.
take it in shorthand, usually?
what was that?
I think
I don't know,
most-
she said she always has it typed.
Yeah.
I can't do that.
No.
so we do a pretty good job, you know, at the very beginning, the chair will usually say to the person, can you introduce who you are? So, you know, John Smith will say, yes, I'm the, you know, energy manager or whatever, and then they present their budget. And the minutes are not meant to be a transcript. It is, you know, John Smith presented the library budget and went over a couple of things, a couple of questions were asked, moved on.
Yeah,
So if you look, a lot of the minutes, quite frankly, of your hearings are cut and paste from the previous budget. So it will say, so-and-so presented the budget, the committee asked some questions, and then they pass it along. Because you guys don't take any votes, I know Jan's going to mention that, but you don't take any votes till the end. And then all that person does is change the name in the name of the budget, and it's the same thing all the way down.
yeah.
So-
In addition, they have the video they can go back to if they miss something that they need to capture, right?
And that's what they would do. So that's why, quite frankly, we've never had a 4-hour meeting. If we do have one, I'm going to blame Jim. because he
Yeah,
brought
we
it up.
haven't until
But-
the time that I've been here, but it could happen.
But,
Wait a second, time out. School committee never had more than 2 hours. As a matter of fact, we usually cut them to an hour and a half.
no, we were good. Most of them stayed pretty true to their time.
Yeah.
But the point is that we allowed the secretary certainly to go back into the committee, the video. So on her or his time, but her time, they would go back, they would look at it. And, you know, if they need an extra hour to redo it, you pay them.
Yeah.
You know, it's not a big deal. It's not a problem. And again, they will send me the draft minutes and I vet them, because again, they get a few things, so I'll make those tweaks and changes if I need to.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think we could do 25, you know, whatever works, but I think we'll have to post it, David, because I don't think anybody knows, anybody who's open to doing it, at least at this point, but if you do.
Like at Jim's point, I think you guys already have been struggling with this for a bit.
Yeah, I'm on the building needs committee, and we lost our secretary, who, God love her, had been there forever, and I mean literally forever. When she gave us her, I'm moving out of town, so I can't do it anymore, sad song and dance, so to speak. And it's a rule, and I understand it. I mean, you know, life goes on, but we have not, you know, I think most of you know our Cabral.
Yeah.
Art and I are kind of like the two forefronts of this committee, and we've been asking people left and right, and honestly, we haven't asked anybody for the last, I want to say, probably 4 or 5 months, because we're just not meeting. And nobody's calling us. Nobody's calling us for any money, so, which I'm sure you're glad to hear.
No, we are.
Not that the money's not there, but
Right.
the point being is that we talked to several different people,
Right.
and it was just, you know, with everything that's going on right now,
Right.
and not, you know, I don't, we were meeting as a group, but, you know, obviously we're not. So I don't know, that could change it a little bit, but it's just, we had no luck at all, none whatsoever.
Is there a requirement that the individual be
I was gonna
a
suggest the
town citizen?
No,
Oh, okay, all right, I was confused by what.
you know, they would be a part-time employee.
Okay, all right,
Yeah, she just,
No, I
she's
just,
on a couple different committees, and she just
okay.
felt when she moved out of town, she just couldn't do it anymore,
Okay.
which is too bad,
We'll
but.
see if we can get it posted, and then maybe we'll get somebody who's interested. Okay, so overview of the committee process. So, just especially for the new folks, but for everybody, you know, just a reminder, we're an advisory committee. We represent the taxpayers. We don't have any real, you know, power, so to speak. But we are a good voice for the taxpayers, and we do have the opportunity to review the budgets, and we listen, we take notes, we ask questions. We try to make sure that the taxpayers have all the information that, you know, they need to make an informed decision. The selectmen, you know, present it, they vet it before we vote on it. We will, what we do is we vote on the budgets, whether we want to recommend it to the town people or not, and then it goes to town meeting, and they are the ultimate deciders of what, you know, how the money gets spent and what the budgets are. So that we tend to vote around April on the budgets. And we have, town meeting is scheduled for May 17th, so we all attend that. If you haven't been there, good to go. Great. So we talked a little bit about this, the future meetings are going to be remote. We all have Chromebooks. Hopefully we can figure out how to use them. I do have a tutorial that I can't remember if it was Lorna or Linda sent to me, but one of them sent it to me, so I can forward it to you guys so that if you get stuck, you know, it's got screen prints and everything, so I'll send that along via email, so everybody has it so they can use the books. Let's see. Then the next thing, any questions on that, the remote meetings or the Chromebooks? I do have the meeting schedule. I can tell you right now when they are, if you want to take them down. February 4th.
And they all do have that sheet.
Yeah.
Oh, they do, okay.
Oh, we do?
Okay.
We do.
So February 4th, February 18th, looks like March 4th, March 8th, and March 18th. Now, sometimes we don't, well, we'll meet all those meetings, and then I think we usually have one meeting to do the vote. If we need another one, we will. And then we have a meeting on the capital items and the warrant articles, right? Any questions on the schedule or any of that?
I'm trying to recall, so for this year maybe coming up, I know the selectmen do theirs, usually they've done that before. Can we get the documents maybe a little early so we can look at them before we even get to the meeting? Or is that too tight of a schedule?
So at the beginning, I wouldn't say yes, but as we finally get all the budgets in and we get them in, they're gonna be downloaded. So I'm not exactly sure.
Okay.
Did we email the budget last time? Is that what we did, Jan? How do we see
I
it?
think she did, and it was shared, and I think we ran into a few glitches with that. So what I was asking is maybe they could email it and we could each have it on our computer separately so that you can scroll and make notes. and
Yeah,
do
because
what
it
you
got
want.
confusing with other people putting stuff in the columns.
It did,
Where-
yeah.
Lost, kind of
Where it's
lost.
trying to go just for improvement is if we get it early, that way we can kind of look it over instead of trying to read it at the same time. And
Okay, can you
to
go
your
on?
point, have it aside versus trying to share one document. But
Yeah.
again, just
Yeah.
a suggestion that I know sometimes time comes into play and you can't turn around in time, just go ahead and ask.
Yeah, so the first selectman meeting is on February 3rd, because yours is first is on February 4th. Budgets are due at the end of January, and there's a weekend in between. So we probably won't have all the budgets inputted by February 3rd, but we probably will by the next meeting. So once they all get inputted, then, or most of them will be inputted. I don't input all the budgets at the beginning, because, for example, there's no way for me to know what the town's insurance rate is gonna be. I usually don't know that until March or April. So 90% of them will be in by mid-February, and then you'll have them at that point.
Okay, that's fine.
So
Fair
then
enough.
we'll have the first batch that we're going to review on February 4th. We'll have that
Absolutely.
by the 3rd or?
Probably by the 3rd.
Yeah, it's tight. I think it's.
Can I ask David a question?
Yeah, of course.
What's the biggest budget? School?
The biggest operating budget is the school.
I mean, as far as pages, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yes.
You buy a lot.
By a lot.
Well, they usually.
No.
You can beat up, no, I mean, that's
No,
okay.
all about the, I think
No,
it's great.
by number of lines, the water budget is the longest one.
Yeah, but the school usually gives you extra stuff, right?
Oh, you mean the supplemental? You mean are you referring to the document that the school?
I'm just
gives?
referring to the main document of all the school committee, all of the school budget.
So what we do is
I
you'll.
think it's like 30 pages. am I right?
Okay, yeah, so you're talking about the supplemental, yes, they are the largest one.
Yeah, okay. So that would be the hardest one to get out.
Well, especially since we usually get it like a day before.
Yeah.
Because you guys have the school department,
Process, yeah.
well, and they are required by law to have a public hearing. And their public hearing is usually the first or second Monday of March.
Yep.
And it normally is the Monday night, and you got, selectmen meet on Wednesday, and you guys meet on Thursday, and a lot of times I would get it, if I got it on Tuesday, I was lucky, but a lot of times it would be Wednesday morning.
Do we know when the meeting is this year?
Which one?
The budget meeting for school week?
No, I haven't, I've been kind of out of touch with them since the
Yeah.
turn of the new year.
Yeah.
I have been asked to come in and visit with Mrs. Grant, and I just haven't had the time, but I can, I can.
It'll be easy enough to call up and just ask them,
Yeah.
yeah. Because that'll be, I'm sure it's gonna be.
I never turned in my key, so I can still walk in.
I have gone to the school committee meeting where they review the budget, and I
Yeah.
found that to be very helpful.
Yeah, it
is.
Each time.
I couldn't go last year, but I definitely want to go this year.
But Mo, to answer your question, The educational budget is on March 17th, so St. Patty's Day.
That's a problem.
Normally it would be. So that most likely means that their meeting will be the 15th, because it's usually that Monday the week of that week. So I feel pretty confident saying it's probably March 15th.
15 or 16?
15th.
Whatever the Monday is before, yeah.
All right, so, let's see. The next thing on the agenda is discuss appointing the finance committee representatives to the capital budget committee. So we need 3 people. I will attend the capital budget committee, but I need 2 other folks who are interested and available to do that. You want to go? Is that a vote? We do a vote for that?
I think so, yeah. I think it would be good if the committee voted. And again, the meetings, usually there's 2 meetings. They're in March. There'll be 1 meeting in which you will hear presentations, and then there will be a second meeting of which you will vote. So the thought process is that you have, say, 7 department heads come in. They will make a presentation individually. They're each given like 15 to 20 minutes. They make a presentation, and then we take a week off, and that gives you the flexibility to go out into the field. For example, if somebody says, I need a new plow truck. My old one is falling apart. Well, it gives you a week to go and visit that department and look at the old trucks so you know. Some people take advantage of it, some don't. And then you come back and you vote. And so we never know how long that first meeting is, because if you figure 15 minutes of presentation, if there's 2 presenters, that's easy, it's a half hour. But in some years, it's 12 presenters, so it could be 3 hours. The second meeting is usually pretty quick, because you're just voting, and that's usually a half hour to 45, 50 minutes. I will tell you that this year, for obvious reasons, we don't have any extra money. So that message has already been sent, and most people just know it. Like it doesn't take a lot of, so I don't expect that there'll be a lot of requests.
So does someone want to make a motion?
Well, you did it before, right?
Yeah, I've done it before.
You're gonna stay, right?
I mean, I don't mind doing it. If someone else wants to see what it's like, that's fine with me.
I've been there, so, I mean, I've got the experience, but
Yeah.
if you prefer to stay, I just assume the 3 of you do it. I mean, that's just my opinion.
Jeff, do you have any interest, or Scott?
I would, but I don't,
Yeah.
you know what I mean, like you,
I have interest, but like I said, is it during the day? Is it?
Yeah, so normally it's at the end of a workday, so usually we meet at 3 or 3:30. Again, it depends on how many presentations there are.
Go.
But we normally meet about 3:30. Again, I assume this year would be done remote, so you'd
Right.
still be able to do it remotely.
Yeah.
And then the second meeting is usually about the same time, and again, a little bit shorter.
No, if you don't mind, I wouldn't mind.
No, I'll make a motion that Scott be on the represent FinCom this year.
Okay.
Myself.
And Cheryl, do you
Cheryl,
want to do it, or do you want to let Jeff do it, or do you guys
I
have a
can
preference?
sit back and look at status, I'm fine. I don't know
Okay.
if
No, I'd like to.
Okay.
If I could, yeah.
So we have a motion for Scott. Does somebody want to make a motion? Do we do them separate? Does it
I would
matter?
do one motion, so
Okay.
if you don't mind, I would ask Mo if you could amend the motion and just say that you would recommend Jan, Cheryl, and Scott to be appointed to
All
the,
right, I'll amend my motion that, to only appoint Scott and amend it to say Scott, Cheryl, and Jan.
All right, we have a second? Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
It's nice that we have folks interested. Okay, thank you. Anything else, any questions anybody has, or anything else you want to discuss before we?
I guess the question is, I know the obvious is we don't have much to spend. Are we going to try to, not spend, or are we trying to talk about that later?
no, I'll definitely answer the question. So what we've done is we normally have the Board of Selectmen send out a level services budget. So whatever your services are now, whatever you need for money to continue those same services, please present that budget. This year, we asked them for a level funded budget. So in theory, That means that if you were approved for $300,000 last year, you should only come in with $300,000. Now, we're not silly. We understand that there are some increases that are going to happen. So we'll get to that in a moment. We've also sent out, and we've started to lead by example, is that we've asked all employees this year to take a 0% raise. So even if you were scheduled for a raise, I was under contract, I was supposed to receive a 2% raise. I ripped up my contract, led by example, and changed it to 0. The same thing with Linda as the HR director. And we have asked all of our other contractual employees to do the same. We have also presented it all to our unions. 2 of our unions have already signed and agreed. The other 3 were still in negotiations, but it'll end up at that 0. And so those salaries should all come in at 0. Now the caveat is that they are part, for the unions anyway, is that they are part of collective bargaining agreements. In the schools, they don't have steps, they have matrices. You'll remember that. So I can't just tear up a contract. So if somebody is in line for a step increase, in a union contract, that normally means that you've been there for, say, 8 years, and at 9 years, you get another step increase. They're going to get that raise. However, they're not going to get a cost of living adjustment. So everybody will take a 0. So the expectation is 0s across the board, except for step increases or matrix track changes. And so most budgets should come in pretty relatively flat, 0 to, year over year. And as I said to Jan, although we can all ask our questions and that's a part of our responsibility, if a budget comes in at $300,000 and it's flat year over year, there's not a lot to really worry about, because quite frankly, you guys as a board looked at it, selectmen looked at it, and most importantly, like Jan said earlier, town meeting is final say, they approved it. They've already said we need $300,000 for, say, the library, right? So if they come in about flat, not a lot to discuss. There are some areas that we can't control. Health insurance, insurance in general. Unfortunately, under the reform for pension reform change that came out in 1988, we receive between 8.25% increase every year for our retirement account until 2033. And that's a big budget. That's $2.5 million. So, an 8.5% increase, you're talking $160,000, $170,000 higher year over year. But if everything that we can control, we have asked everybody to come in at level funding. So we're not expecting a lot of changes.
Very good, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Anything anybody needs help with? Anyone want to make a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, this was good.